5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome to Westchester Jewish Community Services. As a leading agency in providing a comprehensive spectrum of human services, we have been helping people since 1943. We serve all people in Westchester County, regardless of age, income, or ethnicity. We provide a wide variety of essential and dynamic services that make a difference in people's lives. Children, teens, adults, and senior citizens are served by our network of programs located throughout the county. When people come to us for assistance, they become part of the WJCS family. Our highly trained and skilled staff focus on you and your family and are committed to becoming your partner in finding solutions. For more than half a century, we have been connecting people to services that help them overcome mental, physical, or emotional challenges. WJCS is here in your community when you need us.
Welcome to the Ways We Care of Westchester Jewish Community Services. I'm Dale Wang, Director of Community Relations. WJCS is funded by government grants, private individuals and foundations, UJA Federation, United Way, and corporations. Many people make New Year's resolutions that involve doing something to help others. For those who want to make an impact directly upon another person, to bring friendship into someone's life, we are going to talk tonight about just such an opportunity through WJCS's Compeer program. Compeer is a program that connects volunteers to people recovering from mental illness. Very often when a person has suffered from extreme anxieties, depression, or emotional stresses, that individual also suffers a loss of self-esteem and confidence. While therapy can help the recovery process, the care and concern of a friend or companion is often the best medicine. To talk about the benefits and specifics of our Compeer program, we've invited some people who run the program and who are involved as friends. And I'd like to introduce to you Kara Filardi, who is the program coordinator. Welcome, Kara.
Thank you.
And to share their experiences, Jesse Krawitz. Jesse, welcome. You are Compeer volunteer. And Andy Baumgarten, who is a participant in the Compeer program.
Hello, Dale.
Thank you. In the second half of this program, we will be presenting a videotape prepared by the National Compeer Organization, which will be highlighting the gratifying relationships that are developed when one person shares time and companionship with someone who is recovering from mental illness. Let's get started. Maybe, Kara, you can give us a little idea of the background of the Compeer program and how it relates to the international and national affiliates.
Okay, well, Compeer was started in 1973 after the release of many patients from mental health hospitals. So they were out in the community, and there was a need for, they saw a need for friendship besides just the therapy and other supports for these people coming out of the hospital. And there's affiliates now all over the United States, in Canada and Australia, and then here in Westchester, and that's the program that I run. So,
So WJCS has really a part of a national program, and you
Yes.
follow a certain model. Can you talk a little bit about that model and what's involved?
well, the Compeer model is there's a process in recruiting volunteers, getting clients. I guess I'll talk more specifically about that later. And the model is to provide companionship and social support for people recovering from mental illness. And
Now, it does not take the place of therapy. It does not
No.
recruit people who are therapists.
exactly, the Compeer volunteer is seen as an adjunct to therapy. So they are part of the treatment team, but they're really considered an adjunct to that, not a therapist, exactly.
Many of the people who are participants in the program are also in therapy individually or in group therapy. You know, is that part of when you say they're part of a treatment team?
Exactly. The people who are referred to get a volunteer are actually must be in some sort of therapy. So the volunteer has that support team.
Okay. Are most of the people who are currently involved with the program people who are in therapy with WJCS, or do you also take people from other?
All over the county. Yes, they can be in therapy at any agency in the county or private therapy in the county.
Okay, so if someone watching is in therapy and would like to participate, they don't have to be a WJCS client to be participating.
Exactly.
Okay. So how are people referred? Are they self-referred? Do they get referred through their therapists?
Both. Some people self-refer, call me, see something like this or see something in the paper, and they'll call me directly. Other people, the therapist thinks it's a good idea. They may need that, and so they contact me and give me a referral, and then I do an intake and get them into the program. So.
And what would be the process that someone who is looking for a friend would go through? What kind of interview do you go through with that person?
After they're referred through their therapist or through themselves. So they would get a referral through their therapist, and then I would meet with the therapist and the person looking for a volunteer, and we would do an intake. And then get sort of what their interests are and what they're looking for, and sort of get a clearer picture about what they're needing in a friend. And then I would find a friend and match them, and they would meet and then start the relationship.
Right. Okay. So. And on the other end, obviously, one of the reasons we decided to do this program was to bring the message out that we are looking for volunteers. What is the process of bringing in the volunteers, and what do you go through in terms of screening and interviewing them?
Okay, well, the volunteers usually hear about us through programs like this or in the paper, over the internet, and they contact me. Then I'd send out an application, and they would send the application back to me, and then I do some reference checks and other things, and then I would bring them in for an interview. We would do an interview, and then we talk about possible matches. I would do a training, an in-depth, 3-hour training, and let them do a little education about psychological mental illness, and then find a match and go over and proceed from there.
What are the characteristics you look for in a person who could be a friend to someone? I mean, obviously, some of the people you are looking to match them with may be fragile, maybe, experience some difficulties. So what are the ideal characteristics for someone who's looking for?
Really somebody who has the willingness, and compassion is important, but someone who really has the willingness and the desire to, first of all, to want to put the time in, to be a friend to that person, and also has the maturity to draw appropriate boundaries when necessary. But somebody who really has a desire to learn more about mental illness and maybe has some experience with it, but that's not necessary, but just sort of the openness to learning more about it, and the willingness is really important.
You mentioned that people go through training. What is involved in the training process? What types of skills do you try to impart to the people who are volunteers?
Okay, well, it's pretty much the skills that many therapists have. First of all, I do education, as I said, about mental illness, and then going over just some situations that might come up with their friends and ways to deal with certain situations that for any reason might be uncomfortable, and then I give them supports that they can skills so that they can employ to deal with those situations when they arise, and also let them know they have the therapist, which is really important as a support for anything that could come up or any questions they may have.
Okay, well, we'll go into that a little bit more. And then on what basis do you make the match? How do you know that, two people will click together?
Well, for example, with Andrew and Jesse, there's just really the first thing I look at is interests, common interests. You know, if they like sports, let's say, or going to the movies, just really personality match. You know, basically just how you would match any friend or, you know, anything. And then location has to do with it. And then also I do give the volunteer quite a bit of leeway as far as who they feel they'd want to be matched with, and just sort of matching those two things. Some people like older, younger, some people like a certain location or whatnot. So there's a lot that goes into it.
Mm-hmm. Do people have to make a certain time commitment to do this? Mm-hmm. Obviously, you want people who are going to keep their, I mean, you know, take responsibility for doing this.
Yeah. We say 4 hours a month for 1 year, and the 4 hours can be spent, you know, one time a month, or it could be spread out throughout the month. Mm-hmm. So.
Do you also try, we have two men here, but are there men and women matches, or do you try to keep it gender?
It's same gender,
Same
and that's
gender.
actually from the Compeer model that comes from Rochester, from the main Compeer Inc. So it's always same gender.
Uh-huh. Okay, all right, let's find out how this experience actually works. Andy, you were a client in a WJCS
Yes.
program. What brought you into the Compeer program? What made you think that that might help with?
Specifically, I got into the WJCS after my mom died and all the many problems that it caused. And then with Compeer, me who had never joined anything, my yearbook just had my address. I took a shot, and I met a man who's just a wonderful friend and a wonderful guy.
Now, so you weren't necessarily looking for something, but it was proposed that this type of experience might be helpful to you. Did you have any, were there any thoughts about how it might expand the therapeutic role for you?
Sure, and that possibly I could meet somebody that I could really talk to and be open with. And I just personally got very lucky to meet someone like Jesse, and the entire program is great. I admire so much. I tried to help people, but that these people would spend their time and volunteer their time to help others. I mean, if everyone did that,
Right, right. Jesse, talk a little bit about how you got into the program and what caused you to want to volunteer.
Well, actually, I got into the program. There was an article written by Kara's predecessor, Ann Loratan, in the Journal Rockland, the Journal News, and the program sounded really interesting to me. She wrote about, a typical friendship, and the thing that appealed to me was that you really had a chance to, maybe play a positive role in somebody's life. It seemed to be a really good volunteer opportunity, and I was looking to volunteer because when I was in my full-time job, one of the most rewarding things was they had like a reading program, and we worked with kids on their reading, and often that was the most positive part of my day. Was doing that, and I remembered the feeling I got from that. So after seeing the article, I called up and went through the process.
Had you ever had experience with anyone with mental illness? I think that there are probably a lot of viewers out there saying, this sounds like a good program, but I couldn't work with someone who was mentally ill.
Yeah, you get a stereotypical picture from the media and other places. So one of the good things for me is to, I'm very happy I did this because I hadn't really had much experience and I didn't know what to expect, but I think it's turned out pretty well. I'm enjoying it.
Now, let's hear what kinds of things you do together. How this friendship evolves. It's strange sometimes to pick up the phone and say, "Hi, I'm calling to be your friend." How did it work out?
You want to?
All right. Well, we met actually at the therapist for the first time, and as soon as we started talking to each other, I knew it was going to be a good match. Andy is great. We have a lot of the same interests. I think he was a little leery about the thing too. I mean, you're really starting a relationship. But it's really a fascinating thing to see a friendship build. It's really, neither of us is an entertainment director. We just like to get together and talk and listen, and we have a great time just spending time together. We go out to eat. We'll take walks or hikes in the park. We've gone to a movie, the library. We're planning a trip into the city, maybe to go to a museum where there's a baseball exhibit or some other museums, and maybe an off-Broadway show. Andy has a lot of interests, so it's very easy to find things we both like to do.
Can you talk a little bit about the interests that you share together and the kinds of things that you like to do?
Sure. Well, one thing that Jesse was instrumental in was he got me back into the fact that I started to read again. And every book he's recommended has been great. But even if they weren't, just the fact that I'm reading, I think, is a big, big positive. And we have sports in common. I was peripherally involved in sports broadcasting, and Jesse had a big time job with Sports Illustrated. And
no, it's not that big time.
well, he's so modest. He's the most modest guy I know. But we actually met a lot of the same people, a couple of famous people, and he caught a touchdown pass in a beach game from John Unitas. So that alone elevates him to an incredible level.
But Andy's pretty modest as well. He's met a lot of athletes and done some great work and had his own sports shows.
And so is Kara. She knows Jay Pandolfo.
And I don't know who that is. I have two sons, and they know all of that, but it never rubbed off. So
My mother.
right.
She never got in.
Right. So, are there goals that you set for the times you spend together? Is there anything that you feel that on this trip we'd like to achieve anything, or through this relationship we'd like to see something develop, or I'd like to have felt that I've gained this particular skill from being together? Is there any of that goes on?
I don't know. Neither of us is structure-minded people. It's really pretty free-form. I wouldn't presume to set any goals. My hope is anytime I spend time with Andy is maybe I can say or do something that might encourage him or support him, make him realize his own self-worth and how many great qualities he has. And it's more of a general, I don't presume to, part of being a volunteer, a good volunteer, and not necessarily that I am, but I think that you shouldn't really judge, you're not judging anybody, you're not in control. It's really a friendship, and that's what's a great thing about it.
There's never been any evidence of that. And Jesse, in addition, has been very, very supportive of me, and he's looked at my work and been very encouraging in of himself, and then juxtaposed with some of the people over the years who weren't necessarily supportive, it really means a lot to me.
Yeah, you had mentioned, Andy, when we spoke that, unlike some friends, other friends, other people sometimes have their own agendas. How is this friendship different?
Well, I know that Jesse wants the best for me, and he doesn't judge me one bit. He knows that life is a fine line between success and failure. Not that I don't take some responsibility for maybe not being where I want to be, but it's really a friendship, and he allows me to do most of the talking and really decide a lot of the things. But he's always supportive. I don't think there's a bad ounce and bad bone in his body. Maybe his wife not. But no, he's really tremendous. And I wasn't one to join. As I said before, I never did, and I couldn't have been luckier. And not just Jesse, all the Kara, Ann, and a lot of the other people who were that I've met in the program.
Yes, you had mentioned that aside from just the one-on-one relationship, this has also opened other relationships with other people in the Compeer program. Would you talk a little bit about that?
Jesse could tell a funny story about Barbara, whom we met at a luncheon.
We met at a luncheon, and it turned out I went to high school with her, and she also worked at HBO where I worked for a while, so we had a lot in common. And we actually, went out. I wouldn't call it a double date or anything, but we went out together with them, and we had a nice time. It's primarily designed, the program, to be a one-on-one, but we make exceptions. And I've met some of Andy's friends, and it's been a good thing. And I have to say, I'm flattered to be here because I've only been doing this for about 7 months, and Andy's very easy for me to. I enjoy spending time with him so much, and I've seen some of the people have been in matches for years and years and really dealt with some challenges, and it's been very inspiring to me to meet other people too.
Kara, how do you help people draw that line, if issues do come up, between giving support and giving advice and becoming a therapist? Obviously the most important thing is listening skills, but how do you help them know when it's beyond the friend relationship?
Well, during the training and during the entire process, I encourage them, obviously to listen, but as far as it becoming a therapeutic role, they can basically use their judgment when they're feeling uncomfortable or they're not comfortable making sort of decisions and things like that. Then they can always refer to the therapist. But I do encourage them to keep like a friendship role and not give any specific advice or specific sort of like play that therapist role. It's really just to keep it keep it more on the lighter friendship side, as really enjoying each other's company and having that joyful experience. And when it's becoming too much for them or they're feeling uncomfortable, they can always refer to the therapist or to me for support, and they often do.
So people would come back to you and say, I think there's an issue coming up, how do I handle it? Or, should we get the therapist involved?
Right.
Sure.
There really is a lot of support. Nobody should feel afraid that they'll be left. If there's a bad situation, there are always procedures. We get a big training manual that covers almost anything. And, people should not, even if they don't get somebody like Andy, who's very easy to be with, it's really, the support is great.
So you never feel that you're really out of your league in terms of where you...
And like Kara said, you're not a therapist, you're not an entertainment director, your role is really a friend, and to do that, I think you just have to be honest and reliable and just what a friend would be. So it's really pretty well defined. And I'm not qualified to be a therapist.
Well, you're qualified to be a friend, obviously.
Everyone's qualified to be a friend.
Kara, you obviously are now looking to match more people. How many matches currently exist?
Currently there's 35 matches, but there's 50 people on the waiting list waiting for a volunteer. So the need for volunteers is great. And you're not going to always get more people looking for volunteers. So yeah, I'm looking for volunteers.
Okay, and how do they apply? What should they do if they're interested in pursuing this and in exploring CompTIA as a volunteer opportunity?
They can call my number, which I guess we'll be giving directly, my office number.
Well, you can give it now and we'll give it at the end, just in case.
So my number is 914-962-5593, extension 25. And we get the process going once they call. And I can give them a little bit more information if they want about the program.
Now, once people apply, how long does it usually take to go through the process and get matched?
About a month, give or take a week or two. It could be quicker than that, but about a month before they're actually matched with somebody.
Because we're hoping that people who are watching now or have made these New Year's resolutions that they're going to do something worthwhile and that they'll be looking, and sometimes people like immediate gratification for that. If you were to tell people the benefits that you've gotten from being part of the program, what would you say for you, Jessie? you obviously were trying to give to someone else, but I'm sure that
Yeah.
there's
Yeah, I've gotten at least as much out of it. It's, first of all, I met somebody who I wouldn't have otherwise had a chance to meet, somebody who I have a lot in common with and enjoy being with. I've learned how to be a better listener and how to focus on things. I've learned more about mental illness and dispelled some of the stereotypes. And I can't think of a more rewarding position to be in than to be in a position where you have a chance to, encourage somebody or support them or maybe help them deal a little better with something in their lives. It's a terrific position to be in, and it makes you feel pretty good.
Mm-hmm. So even though you think you're doing something for someone else,
Yeah,
you're really doing something for yourself
I've
as
gotten
well.
at least as much out of it. I mean, I know I've gotten a lot out of it, so I hope Andy's gotten a little out of it. but-
Andy, how about you? You're only into this relationship for 7 months or so, but what do you feel that you've gained from
Oh,
it?
it's been tremendous. A friend, support, and making me feel. I mean, it doesn't take away my problems, but just making me feel good about myself. Jesse is stressed to forget the past and move on, but he I'm very lucky, to have gotten someone as great as Jesse. I mean, we're friends. That's it. We're friends. But I just want to say, because Jesse alluded to it, I happened to be at a party when Ann Lauritzen retired, and some of the people who were there longer talked. I mean, there wasn't a dry eye in the house on both sides. And I would just hope that, if someone's out there, I know, because I was that guy, just sitting in front of the TV doing nothing, eating, watching games and flipping channels. But maybe 1 or 2 people would do it, because Kara, I've only known her a short time, I only knew Ann a short time. They're so dedicated, and all these volunteers, and if you ever get the kind of compliments and the kind of rapport those people had, and I've been lucky enough to have with Jesse, it's just so rewarding. It's beyond words, it really is.
Yes, I know what you say, because I've been in so many of those programs when people are talking about that relationship and what it means to them. And I think that there's no substitute for people sharing their time and their energies with other people. Kara, I would like you once again to give the telephone number, and we hope that people out there will share their time and energy with others.
Okay, again, it's 914-962-5593, extension 25.
Okay, and in the second half of the program, we're going to be showing a videotape about the Compeer program nationally. Do you want to give us just 1 minute on what that's going to include?
Okay. Well, Bernice Skirball, the CEO and founder of Compeer, is going to be talking about the program a little bit more in depth. Also talking about the benefits of volunteering as well as being a part of the program. She speaks very nicely about that. And then there's 4 or 5 matches that are highlighted, and they interview them and sort of talk about what they do together and how it's benefited them as well. So it's really a touching video. It's really nice, and get a good feeling after watching it. But Eli Lilly was the grant writer, underwrote the filming of it, and it's a nice video.
Okay, so instead of making our program an hour long from our interview today, we're going to cut to that. And I want to thank all of you for sharing your time and sharing your stories and letting people out there know how valuable the Compeer program is, both for those who are recovering from mental stresses and those who are giving their time and sharing their energies. And Kara, we hope that people will call you, so thank you.
Thank you.
And stay tuned, please, for a video about the National Compeer program, and we hope that you will call us at, give that number again.
914-962-5593, extension 25.
Thank you very much.
We all have the option to become better people by being more aware and becoming more involved. That's what this series is all about. This week, Options presents Compere, a nonprofit organization with a 30-year history of matching volunteers in friendship relationships with children and adults experiencing great sadness, anxiety, loneliness, feelings of worthlessness, helplessness, and isolation. While all Compere clients have support from mental health professionals, and in some cases have family, many simply don't have friends. It is this gap Compere seeks to fill. The premise of Compere is that a lack of human interaction and connection are obstacles to achieve good mental health. Compere's approach is based on the concept that a supportive and caring friend can offset the seclusion and loneliness often felt by someone who has a mental illness. Hello, I'm Jim Maroney.
And I'm Bernice Skirball.
Compere sounds impressive.
It's an honor to do something that you love that has benefited so many at the same time.
Now, there are people who want to volunteer their time, who never did it before, who really want to get started and don't know how. Compere is a wonderful opportunity to give of yourself to benefit other individuals with the gift of friendship. You know, there have been so many changes lately.
Jim, this is the most challenging times that we've ever lived in. We desperately need to help others and connect. What's happening is that we all wish that we could change the world. Unfortunately, that's beyond an individual's control. But Compere offers a unique opportunity to change another life one at a time.
What is Compere? And specifically, where does the name come from?
Well, Compere means friend equal companion. Believe it or not, it's a word in our dictionary. And people that are diagnosed with mental illness, children and adults, are considered to be the most stigmatized and discriminated people that I know.
These are people like you and me, for what known or unknown reason, experience a chemical imbalance in their brain. This illness can impact a person's ability to function and cope with everyday living. It results in loss of self-esteem, extreme feelings of loneliness, and isolation. This imbalance may result from physical, emotional shock, or trauma. Sometimes stress can trigger many forms of chemical imbalances. Some of us are more susceptible to it than others.
Heredity is clearly a factor. You know that 1 out of every 4 individuals suffers from some form of mental illness. It can touch any one of us and affect us at any time in our life. We all know someone who's dealing with it right now, and I really believe that it's more prevalent than ever.
And sometimes the best thing to do to stop worrying about your problems is to help someone else, to get your mind off yourself.
And getting back to recent changes, government funding is continuing to diminish for mental health programs. So what this environment opens up for us is the opportunity to create new and innovative ways. And Compere offers that solution by its cost-effective utilization of volunteers as an adjunct to therapy.
So how is Compere funded?
Compere programs are funded through a variety of donations from individuals and corporations, foundations, United Way, and city, county, and state departments of mental health.
Now, a unique element of the Compere program is that services are based on need and not the ability to pay.
And Jim, you know that the volunteer is there because they want to be there, not because they're paid. And what that transmits to the recipient of the friendship is, this is the only non-paid person in my life.
And folks who are involved as volunteers don't have to be part of a routine. They can
Right.
do it as well as they're able. They develop a routine with their match.
And our volunteers come from all walks of life because the clients that are referred to us are representative of every social, economic, and cultural background.
And because mental illness strikes children and adults from all social, ethnic, and religious backgrounds, Compere actively recruits volunteers from all walks of life. Let's meet some Compere matches now.
These volunteers are the heart and soul of Compere.
You know, Jay, we've been going together for a long time. How many years has it been?
Well, it's been at least 10.
Yeah, that was a good time. As a matter of fact, I knew the whole family. But I seem to have lost track with you after you left for college.
Yeah, it's amazing that we hooked up again.
Yeah.
You know, Dennis, my mental illness really got helped by you being a compeer and a friend to me.
How so, Jen?
Well, I don't think you noticed it, but when I'm around you, I'm much more active and I feel normal, quote normal, like everybody else. If it wasn't for you, I'd be more of a recluse.
And one of the things that I have had that touches me deeply is the awareness of what mental illness really is. Before, I was kind of afraid, and I thought people were stuck in asylums, and that's their only way that they could live, and they couldn't be out amongst people and everything. And now I find you're as intelligent as I am, in a lot of things more so, and you can do just about everything, except once in a while you have to take medication, and you have to do some things that you feel are comfortable for you. It's an awareness for me to be able to understand that.
Know
And
what
you
I
brought
think it
that to
is?
me.
I think it's an individual thing for everybody. If you have mental illness, it's an individual thing. It's not that you're gonna be quote put in a box. Everybody's different, and they deal with it differently, and it affects them differently.
I think what I've realized through Compere is that people with mental illness are no different than you and me. And when I go to the Christmas party and everything, I can't tell who's a Compere volunteer or who's a Compere person. I don't have any idea.
Not only was Dennis a support with my artwork and telling me I should do more, but he actually took a piece and made it his own and bought it and reproduced the piece for me. So I had a copy of the piece that he bought.
Compere has made me very aware of mental illness, and that it's not this remote thing way out there. It's right here, our own neighborhoods, our own houses, our friends, our relatives, and that people are no different. And as a matter of fact, I would label some of the people that I had at work as more pretentious than the people than Compere.
Oops, sorry. Okay, let's see. There we go. One of the things right from the beginning, Tammy and I have been together for about 10 years now. One of the things that drew me to Tammy right from the beginning was the fact that we both had an intense love for animals. Tammy's got a lot of animals at home. She lives on a place out in the country with a lot of acreage, and she's got a horse and goats and dogs and cats, and I have dogs and cats and a small parrot. So that's one of the things that we enjoy doing together, is spending time with the animals. It really is only one of the things, though. Tammy and I both share a great love for the theater and for movies, and we both love to dance. We also love to eat. That's one of the things that we always do when we're together. I am so incredibly proud of Tammy and how she has grown and changed and developed over the past 10 years. When I first met her, she was a very shy, introverted little girl. The first time we spent time together, I don't think I got more than a yes or no as far as conversation was concerned. And now Tammy is finishing up her first year of college. She's pursuing her dream of child care education. She's got a wonderful job. She's working in a daycare center. It really is truly her love, and she's wonderful at it. She's great with kids. She just got a car. She's working on getting her driver's license. It's just been such a joy for me to be able to be part of that and watch her grow over these past 10 years. It's been amazing.
Compere has made a total difference in my life because it gives me someone to go out with, to have fun with, enjoy spare time with. It gives me time to play with the animals and enjoy things that I enjoy doing with someone that I care and love for very much.
Tammy has become an integral part of my family. She's become another family member. My parents, my siblings, my nieces and nephews just adore her. She's participated in a lot of family functions. I think that my nieces and nephews all think that she's just another aunt. So that's the joy of this whole relationship, is that it doesn't have to be just between the two of you. It's something that you can share with your family, with your friends. Last night we went to the movies with a couple girlfriends of mine. So it can go beyond the scope of just you and your compeer friend.
Just like a flower needs a little nourishment to bloom, friendship is nourishment for the soul. Just a couple hours a month or week is all that's needed. A connection to the world is life's blood to people coping with mental illness. And it really can be as simple as walking the dog or going to the mall or even taking in a movie.
That's what we saw, and for me to have seen the change in Tammy from being this little shy girl child to being now, you know, a college student that has a bright future.
How does a person who wants to be a volunteer become a compeer?
The compeer staff schedule an interview, at which time they explain the program to the potential volunteer. They then screen, train, and match them with somebody from the waiting list who they choose. And that's what the neat thing about compeer is. Just as we choose our friends in our everyday life, we choose our compeer friend.
That's great. How did this all begin?
Compeer began in Rochester, New York 30 years ago. And it was really to meet the needs of the lonely, isolated patients at our state psychiatric hospital. What happened is the people were there and they were being released to the community without appropriate community support programs. And this is where compeer could make that critical difference.
And thanks to the continuing research and development of medications, people with diagnosed mental illness can now lead more productive lives. Let me introduce you to Dr. Bruce Kynan. Why does Lilly support the integration of people with serious mental illness and recognize programs like compeer for its efforts?
Compeer has shown excellence in the area of developing social support networks. I think that they have had a very original approach to helping patients and clients form connections through social contacts in the community. And really, they've been recognized by numerous organizations, from presidential citations to awards from the National Institute of Mental Health. In addition, they're not only a local organization, they're a national as well as an international organization. They have tremendous amount of experience. They've had extensive ability to work with large numbers of patients over a whole age range. And I think this type of approach really is able to deliver social functioning right down to the patient level. One of the roles of Eli Lilly in setting up the reintegration program is basically to develop a synergism between a best-in-class medication with the enabling effects of community mental health programs that really work with grassroots patients and consumer groups.
You gave compeer the 2002 Lilly Social Reintegration Award. Can you tell us about that?
The Reintegration Award fundamentally is, and firstmost, is an opportunity to recognize organizations such as compeer who really make a difference in the lives of patients by delivering various aspects of the reintegration promise, such as helping them to find a place to live or to get employed or to develop a social network. Just remember that many of the patients who suffer from serious mental illnesses at one point in their lives were not mentally ill. They had the aspirations, the hopes of everyone. And they need to reconnect to get a sense that they too can reconnect to what was once their aspirations. And if groups like compeer are successful, as they certainly seem to be, I think we need more of it. When you really come down to the basic element, developing friendships is really the essential ingredient to helping patients get better.
I'm sure we can all remember at certain times in our lives when we were shy or had issues, how difficult it was to be alone with nobody to share thoughts or feelings with. It's really the same with those diagnosed with mental illness, just a lot harder.
So we're extremely grateful to companies like Eli Lilly for developing medications that treat children and adults diagnosed with mental illness. But also, they support the reintegration of people into the community so that they could become a productive member of society.
Now, in 1980, compeer started expanding throughout the U.S. and into Canada and Australia. Can you show us where everyone's located now?
We now have over 100 programs in 30 states, and as you said, Canada and Australia. And recently, I had the privilege and pleasure of presenting compeer at the World Federation of Mental Health Congress in Melbourne. But also, I met with, we have 3 compeer programs in Australia, and I met with people in Sydney. And it was the most wonderful experience to hear the stories. And once again, it validated for me the important and vital role compeer played in their lives. and showed that friendship is truly powerful medicine, and our Compeer model is universal.
How did all those Compeer programs get their start?
Well, they started, Jim, from a variety of people. Sometimes it's just one person that starts the effort. Otherwise, it's a group of concerned citizens or an agency that contacts Compeer at our 800 number and wants information, and we provide them with all the information and materials that are necessary to begin a Compeer program. They can also attend our annual conference or visit us in Rochester, New York, where the international headquarters is located.
Well, with all of that expansion, has Compeer changed?
No, Jim, I'm proud that despite all this growth and recognition, we have stayed true to our core mission, which is to match volunteers, mentors, in one-to-one supportive relationships with children and adults in order for them to lead productive, happy lives. Unfortunately, the need for volunteers continues to grow faster than our ability to find new volunteers. So what we've done is develop services and programs to meet the needs of those people who are waiting for a Compeer friend.
Well, let's take a look at some of the group activities that Compeer organizes.
I'm a volunteer for Compeer, and I come here every Friday to help the clients learn to make quilts. The most important part is the satisfaction they get from starting a project and finishing it and seeing a creative effort that's brought about by their own hands.
All the ladies, they're very nice. I have a couple of very good friends that I've met here, and we get together and have coffee, and it's a very friendly program.
What I see these women learning to do with fabric, I feel that I'm helping to do with their own lives. We put pieces together that maybe don't match and make something good at the end that everyone can be proud of. Making quilts is sort of the art of using what you can and making do. I was looking for 5 pieces to match and there weren't, so I substituted a different fabric in the center of each one of these blocks. But on first glance that might look like a mistake, but after I put all the blocks together, that's part of what makes it lively, part of what makes it more interesting. I can't think of a single lesson that anyone has learned in quilting that doesn't apply to life too. Sometimes your mistakes are your best opportunities.
I made this quilt for my 5-year-old son. He likes Power Rangers, so I decided to make him this kind of quilt. I'm going to make another fractured star quilt and a heritage quilt. I'm going to have different pictures of my family tree and have them formed on the quilt.
I'm just sewing as much as I can and enjoying every bit of it. And I wish more people would stop and say, I want to be a volunteer. It's one of the best programs I have ever tried to get into, and I'm delighted to be here.
We are constantly developing new programs for our waiting clients, such as Skill Builders, Friends for a Day, Compeer Calling, and eBuddies. I've had the pleasure of meeting the people that have been in these programs, and the women that are in our Quilters program, to see that what started out as once a week quilting has developed into true bonds of friendship and personal development that is growth beyond belief.
And those are basic experiences that we all take for granted.
Exactly, Jim. And the kids, to see kids do rock climbing, which is a fun activity, but see the trust that is built as a result of that, which is for their future development.
Rock climbing with the children is really awesome because it gets the kids to go for challenges, but only within their comfort zone. And what we try to do is expand that comfort zone, basically, and in so doing, get the kids to go and do some things that they don't think they can do.
Let's meet a couple of other friends and see what their story is.
And Jim, these are people who met actually at a group activity.
I've been involved with Compeer for about 8 years now, and it's been a wonderful experience. Danny and I have worked together. We spend a lot of time together, everything from informal lunches, walks, to time we go to the ball game or we'll go to the theater. Danny is more assertive. He's softer around the edges. He's more friendly, personable. He gets out more. I think there's been some drastic changes. You truly have the ability when you're with Compeer to have an impact on someone's life. I remember after our second anniversary together, I took Danny to a fast food restaurant, and we love fast food. And he sat down, and I turned to Danny and I said, Danny, how are you different today than you were 2 years ago? And he thought for a second, and he said to me, you know, remember this?
Yeah.
I really like getting up in the morning. And that's the effect that you can have being a Compeer volunteer.
Yeah. I really enjoyed getting up every morning knowing that there was something to look forward to and or make my day a little bit brighter than it has been. Jim has helped me see the other side of life, helped me realize that in life's battles and in life's struggles, you're not alone. There is somebody there. We've had some exceptionally good times together, and I think we learn a lot from each other. The job I had was 10 years at the Strathallan Hotel, and I'd known Jim through that time period too. My volunteer spots include working as a scout leader, recently working at Wesleyan East Nursing Home, and being part of the Monroe County Recycling Program.
And you did some wonderful work at the zoo, too.
And I work at the zoo when I can get there, yes.
I think it's important for people to understand that with a Compeer relationship, it allows you to become more comfortable with yourself. Danny today likes himself a lot more than he did when I first met him. And as a result, he's able to get outside of himself and in his own small way give back to the world. And that's why he's doing all these wonderful volunteer activities. He's really, really blossomed. It's a thrill to watch. Everybody could really use a Compeer.
And if they're lucky, they'll get matched up with somebody as special and as great as Jim.
Ron and Stuart have been together for about 10 years. What makes this story so unique is that Ron himself is recovering from mental illness. He has benefited very much in the volunteer process. For his experience throughout his Compeer volunteer work, he has maintained better control through understanding and working with his friend Stuart.
I'll go here, greed, okay. You count up the numbers. You know, Stuart, people say that we have a kind of unique relationship. And I guess that may be true. I'm very impressed with the fact that not only are we both mentally ill, we have the same diagnosis. So we know a lot about what each other feels and what each other aspires to and how you can try to make a life out of a very serious permanent illness.
And I think I first got to know you in one of the support groups, early support groups that we attended. You have influenced my life in so many ways that were compatible in knowing the same illness. Compeer has helped me in that I've grown emotionally. I've become more confident in myself. My self-esteem is better. Ron has been such a positive influence on my life.
As a facilitator, he's one of about 7 of us who will facilitate these meetings at 2 or 3 self-help groups a month, all for people with either depression or bipolar illness. And Stuart's the only one that remembers everybody's name. Even if 5 of them are new and there are 30 in the room, he will always address each person by name. The other one that I will remember for always is your saying in a meeting 2 or 3 years ago about something that you were not all that confident about. I can do this. And I know you were saying it to yourself and to give yourself confidence. But boy, we all grabbed onto that, Stuart. It's fabulous. I can do this.
Not everyone is as fortunate as Stuart in having a wonderful friend like Ron.
No, Jim. Unfortunately, there are thousands of children and adults right now who are waiting for a Compeer friend. Can you imagine what it must feel like to be referred to Compeer and then wait for someone to choose you? We need friends and mentors desperately. Perhaps you are that person who can touch somebody else's life. And I guarantee you, you will be a better person for it. So please call us now and become a friend and change a life.
So please call if you're at all interested in becoming a friend to someone who's lonely and isolated. Maybe you're the person who will help us help those who really need a friend.
During these difficult times, the need for friendship is greater than ever. We need desperately to reach out to others and help. Please call Compeer and think about how you can be a friend to someone who desperately needs one. At Compeer, we call that investing in human capital.
And this is a relationship that does so much for the volunteer as it does for the person in need.
There's no question, Jim. At Compeer, we say making friends, changing lives. And that's what it's all about. Both people's lives are enriched.
You know, I have to admit that 8 years ago, Bernice told me all about this, and for 8 years, I have been with a young man who has been a personal inspiration when it comes to someone who believes in the friendship that we have, and it is separate from so many other things in my life and so nourishing in so many ways.
Well, he's grown up to be a nice young man thanks to you now. And that's what Compeer is all about. It's my dream to be able to have a Compeer program in every community, in every country that has the need. And there are people, children and adults, who can benefit from it.
So please give us a call. We want to thank you for joining us today.
And remember, the life you enrich may be your own.